When I saw that GreenStalk was coming out with a new pattern for their vertical planter, the basket weave, I had to have it. And after getting it, oh, I fell in love. I absolutely love this new basket weave pattern. And while normally I would be planting salad crops and herbs in my GreenStalk, this year I wanted to showcase that basket weave pattern by growing flowers, by filling the entire tower with different varieties of annual flowers to give me color all season long. So that's what I did. Join me today as I show you how I plant flowers in a GreenStalk. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and my basket weave GreenStalk is all ready for planting. After unboxing it, I laid everything out and filled each of the tiers with a good potting mix. Now, for me, a good potting mix is one I make myself, and if you want to see how I do that, I'll link to another video at the end of this one. It's certainly okay if you buy your potting mixes. Whether you purchase or make it yourself, just go ahead and fill each of the tiers. I just pour in my blend until the levels are mostly full. How much you fill these tiers will vary slightly depending on what you're going to put in them. If you're going to start from seed, I recommend filling pretty much all the way to the top. Now, I'm going to be transplanting some plants today, so I'm not filling it all the way to the top because the soil that's in these little pots will fill up some of the space. Do be aware that over the course of the season that this potting mix will settle. To help reduce the amount of settling, as I'm filling these tiers, I go ahead and gently press down on the soil to compact it ever so slightly. That allows me to put more soil into each tier and also reduces how much it settles over the course of a season. Right before transplanting, I go ahead and lay out each of these 6-pack of plants onto the tier where I'm going to plant them. I think 6-packs are ideally suited for putting into a GreenStalk. First, each of the tiers have 6 pockets. And secondly, especially early in the season, the 6-packs are about the most cost-effective way to get the plants that you're going to put into your garden or into your basket weave GreenStalk. When you get your flowers for transplanting, I recommend that you get young plants, ones that haven't bloomed yet. You'll get the longest bloom season from these kind of plants. In a 6-pack, I do like to have at least one that's already showing its flowers so I know what to expect. But all of these others, I can have a week or two of patience while they get established in the GreenStalk and then begin exploding with color once they start blooming. I've chosen a variety of flowers for this GreenStalk vertical planter this year. I have petunias and pansies and marigolds. I have snapdragons, violas, and dianthus. All of these will give me a blend of color, and pretty much all of them will last the entire growing season. I'll have blooms for months. Now, I could have gone with a single color. I think that would be absolutely amazing in a GreenStalk. Last year, I grew nothing but basil in that tower, and it was amazing. An entire tower filled with basil, or an entire tower filled with something of the dark red that would be cascading down. I think that would be pretty. To make the transplanting for each tier as easy as possible, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the flowers before I begin. By squeezing the base, that helps release the plants, and then it should just slide right out. In 6-packs, it's not unusual to have the plants and their roots starting to grow together, so I'll gently tease them apart, and I'll lay one plant in each of the pockets. You can be a little rough with these plants. You don't have to be too gentle, but you don't want to disturb them too much. When it comes to putting the plants into the soil, we have a couple options. The first is to do each of the tiers individually and then stack them in the location that they're going to go. The second is to go ahead and put the tiers into position as a tower and then plant in the pockets, and I'll show you both. The first one is to go ahead and put the plants into the tier while it's resting on the ground. And this is probably the easiest approach to take because you have everything right in front of you. If you take this approach to transplanting, I encourage that you make your hole close to the front of the pocket. Remember, there's going to be another one on top of this. So if you put it too close to the center, as you put another tier on top, it may actually interfere with the plant. So just 1.5 inches or 2 inches from the front edge is a good target when you put these plants into position. If you plant first and then stack each of the tiers, you have to be very careful. In fact, I already lost one flower in placing it. So that's why I prefer to go ahead and stack first and then plant. Don't forget to put the reservoir between each of the levels. Now what I'll do is complete the tower, and then I'll plant each of the tiers. As before, I went ahead and pulled the plants out of the 6-pack. Now I can dig my hole, place the plant, and put it in a position so that the layer above is not going to interfere. And I'll just continue doing this. This spinner really makes this process easy. It just takes a few seconds to dig a hole, put in the plant, put the soil around it, firm it slightly, and then just repeat. Hole, plant, soil, firming, and in just a few seconds, this whole tier is going to be planted. The transplanting and firming will compact the soil. So after putting all the plants in place, I come back and I will add more potting mix to bring the level up closer to the top. It's helpful during this entire process to be working with moist potting soil. That puts less stress on the plants if we can put them into moist soil already. I actually filled these tiers with soil yesterday, and the very first thing I started doing was watering the soil and giving multiple waterings yesterday and this morning to try to make sure that this soil was as damp as possible. Of course, the next step after filling all of these cells with plants is to water. Anytime you transplant, the first thing you should do is add water to it. My GreenStalk came with some stickers, so the final step was to put a sticker on this tower. That way when I rotate it, I have a reference point from where I started to where I stop. And typically I'll rotate it about a quarter turn every day just to make sure that all of the plants are receiving relatively equal sunlight. I like this red sticker because it matches the red flower above. And this whole tower is going to look awesome with everything growing and bigger and more blossoms. And the best part of this is it costs less than $20. I got these plants on sale because it's spring, a 6-pack for $2.50. And with the 7 tiers that I filled, I just couldn't avoid that opportunity. I'm really looking forward to how this is going to look. I'll share pictures of each of these flowers on my Gardener Scott Instagram page, so be sure to check there for updates. I'm Gardener Scott. Enjoy gardening.